starring Chuck Connors.
Hello, Mr. Loomis. What's wrong?
Well, the axle pretty near busted in half. Where's your paw?
In the barn?
How much longer are we going to continue this lopsided limping?
You ain't gonna limp no more, Mr. Clemens. We're lucky to get here.
Where are we?
Luke McCain's place. I'm gonna need help with this wheel if we expect to make North Fork.
I bought a ticket for Santa Fe.
I'll get you there just as soon as possible, Mr. Clemens. But we have to lay over North Fork for repairs.
Layover.
Yeah.
How long?
Oh, a day, maybe two.
Well, what are you waiting for, boy? Go get your daddy before we're too old to continue the journey at all.
Yes, sir. I mean, Paul will be right here. He'll be right here, Mr. Twain. Don't worry, he'll sure help you.
Well, I'll be a coyote's uncle, Mark Twain.
Well, let's see what we can do.
That wheel doesn't seem too badly damaged. Can't you complete the repairs?
Not so it'll hold all the way to Santa Fe. I don't have the proper tools. But don't worry, Mr. Twain. You won't miss that electro engagement. North Fork's got the best blacksmith in these parts.
Some of his machinery came clear from Chicago.
Well? Oh, of course, of course.
I always hoped that I'd meet you, Mr. Twain. Paul and me, we've read all your books. My name's Mark, too. Of course, I know that Mark Twain's not your real name. It's, nom de plume. Someday when I'm a writer, I'm going to think one up, too. Paul says it takes hard work to get to be a writer. Lots of studying, too. That's the only part I don't quite like. We play the history post game at school. That's the game that you thought up to help your children learn important dates.
You play that here?
Yep, it's swell fun. There's only one part we don't quite understand.
What's that?
Well, suppose you get tagged before you pass the Columbus post. Do you have to go all the way back when it gets to be your own turn?
Well, that depends. Depends on your running speed. There are 11 posts, and when you... I haven't time for all these questions, boy. Puzzle it out for yourself.
I didn't mean anything. Why did he get so riled up?
Mr. Twain's had a long trip, son. He's probably tired and a little edgy.
Yeah, that's what it is. He's tired. He's plumb tuckered out.
Blacksmith, start working on that wheel just as quick as I get her unloaded.
Very well.
The hotel has feather mattresses, billiard tables, best accommodations west of Denver.
My dear sir, I hope that I will not be marooned here long enough to make comparisons.
Get up.
Finish the game.
I'll be right back. Sorry to keep you waiting. I was just... Did you sign right here, please?
Hey, Eddie, come back and finish the game.
You're not right now. I'm busy. Just a...
You gonna play or ain't you?
Give me a room where I won't be disturbed.
Yes, sir. I think I've got just the thing for you, Mr. S. Clemens. Why, you're You're Mark Twain.
That book writer? What's the room number?
24. This is a pleasure. A real pleasure. I'll show you what,
You're the
Mr.
fellow that
Twain.
wrote about traveling on the overland stage. You know, I've always had a hankering to meet up with you. What was it you called that book?
The book is called Roughing It, a title that should come easily to you.
Yeah, well, I was one of them station keepers you described.
Right this way, Mr. Twain.
Filthy half-savages, that's what you called us. Said we fed the travelers water with dish rag and sand to flavor it.
Now you get out of the way, Russell.
Your book caused such a stir, the company sent men out to check the outlying stations. Your lies cost me a job.
The power of the pen is mightier than the sword. How fortunate for travelers that you are no longer an employee of the Overland Company.
Fortunate.
Fortunate!
Well, Mark, you better keep your mind on your supper.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. Paul, if Mr. Twain does come down before we leave, can I ask him to go fishing in the morning? He loves to go fishing.
Mark, when you're as famous as he is, I imagine people swarm around wherever you go.
I guess they do.
It doesn't give you much of a chance for, well, just thinking.
You mean I shouldn't even talk to Mr. Twain?
Wait till he talks to you. Give him some thinking room.
All right. There he is, Paul. That's Mark Twain.
Mark, sit down. Remember, thinking room?
Good evening, Mr. Twain.
Good evening.
We have some delicious roast beef and apple pie that'll melt in your mouth.
Just bring me a bowl of soup. It doesn't matter what kind.
Yes, sir.
Hey, McCain, how about a little game?
No, thanks.
I'll spot you 10 points out of 20, play you for a quarter a point. Now, you can't hardly afford to turn that down.
I never play for money, Mr. Russell.
Trouble with folks around here, always scared to lose.
Not scared, just smart. You finish up, son. We've got to be getting home.
$50 says ain't nobody in town can beat me.
I know someone who can. Mr. Twain. Playing billiards is his hobby. Why, you know, he's beat most everybody in the East.
Kid here know what he's talking about?
Anything about Mark Twain, Mark McCain knows.
Hey, I hear you're quite a billiards player. $50 says you can't beat me. Think you can?
I don't think of you at all, sir.
Well, here's $70. My whole roll says you play billiards like you write. Rotten.
I won't play with you, Mr. Russell. But you may set up the balls. As difficult a three-cushion shot as you choose. Winner take all.
You mean you're gonna make any three-cushion shot I set up?
Exactly.
Come along, Mr. Ryder, man. Mr. Ruffin, it's gonna give me a present.
Come on.
All right. It's all yours, Mr. Ruffinett.
curse.
Bragging and braying is the same thing, Mr. Russell. The only difference is the latter noise comes from the throat of an animal with much longer ears. Good evening, sir.
Say, he called me a mule.
Mark?
Excuse me.
Where'd you say that fishing hole was?
Over there behind those trees.
Well, you go ahead and bait up for both of us. I'll hobble the horses so they can graze.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Twain. You got a bite, Mr. Twain? Hurry, before it gets away.
Land him, boy. You land him.
Sure. Thanks. He sure is a beauty. Want me to clean him for you?
No, thank you, boy. You keep him.
Oh, thanks. Say, Mr. Twain, some of us kids have been saving money from our chores, and we sent for a subscription to that magazine that's been printing chapters from your new book.
Huckleberry Finn.
Uh-huh. Sure is exciting. They print a chapter each month. Only thing is, it takes an awful long time for mail to get here from Boston.
It does.
Yep, and so seeing as you're here, some of the kids were wondering if maybe you could tell us what's going to happen in the next chapter so we won't have to wait so long to find out. Will you, Mr. Twain?
What's the matter with you, boy? Why do you keep bothering me? Huckleberry Finn is dead. He's dead! I tell you, he's dead! Wait! Wait, boy.
You shouldn't have talked to the boy that way. You were his idol. Boy's idol shatters easily. You ought to know that you've got a son. I found your Tom Sawyer book in the waste bucket.
I don't want it anymore.
Maybe you'll change your mind, son, when you read this. Mr. Twain left it at the stream. It's from his wife. It explains a lot of things.
I don't care about anything that has to do with him.
Now read it. He has a deep sorrow, Mark.
Well, just because he's sad doesn't mean he has to treat everyone else like dirt.
Once you said you wanted to be like Mark Twain. You're acting exactly like him now.
How do you mean?
Shutting folks out because you've been hurt. The letter says his son Langdon died a few months ago.
Died?
Mm-hmm. Newspapers tried to spare the family. That's why we didn't hear about it out here. Mr. Twain blames himself for the boy's death.
But why?
Well, he took him riding in an open carriage on a very cold day. The blanket slipped off. Mr. Twain didn't notice because he was thinking about a story he was writing. That night, Langdon came down with diphtheria. Mr. Twain never forgave himself. He's been running ever since.
So that's why he said that Huckleberry Finn was dead.
That's the story he was thinking about in the carriage. He hasn't written a word since. I'm going to return this to Mr. Twain, Mark.
Pa? Can I go with you?
Sure. Come on. Hello, Eddie.
Oh, hello, Luke.
Mr. Twain in his room?
No? He's been standing there looking out of that window for about 15 minutes.
Son, I want to talk to him alone. You stay here. Mr. Twain, you, drop this by the stream.
Thank you for returning it.
Losing his son is hard, Mr. Twain. I know how I'd feel if I lost him.
How could you know? How could you possibly know?
You've still got 2 daughters and a wife who I'm sure...
How could you possibly understand what it feels like to kill your own son?
You didn't kill your son.
That's what I did, Mr. McCain. I murdered Langdon. Murdered him. For a barefoot urchin, Huckleberry Finn.
Hey, I've been looking for you, Mr. Ruffinett. You gotta give me a chance to win back what I lost.
Get out of here, Russell.
Well, I got the same loser's rights as anybody else.
Mr. Twain and I are talking. Leave us alone.
Just a minute. Nothing you will say can possibly help. The past is unchangeable. Name your stakes, Mr. Russell.
I'll play you 5 points for anything you want.
$100?
All right. I'll break. All right, your shot. That's 3 for me. Nervous, huh? The cue's a little heavier in the pen, ain't it? that makes us about even, Mr. Ruffin.
Mr. Twain's got loser's rights, too.
All right, kid. I'll give him a chance to get even. This here's solid gold, ain't it? Ought to be worth $100. Tell you what, I'll play you for it.
Oh, no. I can't wager it.
Well, you know you can't beat me, huh?
I can't wager the fob. It has a sentimental value. It was a gift to me to celebrate the birth of my son.
Sentimental value. You're afraid of losing it.
I am not afraid, sir. I am not afraid.
Oh, he's right, Mr. Twain. You're afraid. Well, the past took something you loved, and now you refuse to go on living. You can't do that, Mr. Twain. You haven't the right. Your future belongs to the world. Well, if you're not afraid, Mr. Twain, why don't you wager your past against your future? Just how much was your son worth to you?
Five points, my break.
Gee willikers, Mr. Twain, that was wonderful.
Now, you and your friends don't understand this history post game. Well, that's very easy once it's explained. You start with the earliest date. That's your first post. You run as fast as you can to the next one. Okay, now finish the story of Huck Finn as fast as I can.
I'm glad, sir, because all the kids sure want to know what's going to happen to him.
Well, so do I. Goodbye, Mark. Thank you, Lucas.
Goodbye, Mr. Twain.
When I grow up, I'm going to be a writer just like Mr. Twain.
Well, now, that's quite an ambition, son.
Yes, sir.